In this video, I'm going to show you how we would add a QR code to a wedding invitation details card to get you to your wedding website, how we're going to make it beautiful, match colors, and make sure it still works when it's printed out for all of your guests. So let's dive in. Hi, I'm Laney. I'm a wedding invitation designer. If you're designing for your own wedding, we have tons of videos to help you here. And if you want to become a stationery designer, check out Stationery School. It's our membership just for wedding invitation designers, and it's linked in the description of this video. It's so common these days to have online RSVPs, travel information, registry information, so much on your wedding website, and people are becoming more and more familiar with QR codes. So it's a great option to use on your wedding invitations, whether it's on a details card or on a reply card or kind of a combo. If you're doing online RSVPs, we often combine those two things. So let's go ahead and figure out how we're going to do that. We have this holographic suite that includes a bunch of nice, fun, like holographic gradients. I deleted the client's information for you. Oh, this is a wedding from a year ago. So I hate the look of kind of standard QR codes, and I want to make it match the suite. I want to make it a little bit more beautiful, a little bit softer in most cases, and just have some more options to choose from than like a bunch of black boxes. Also, a lot of QR code generators that are free online are going to expire after a month of no use, or after 30 days, or after a certain time period. So you don't want this to expire by the time you print and send out your invitations, or by the time your guests are actually using them. So my favorite generator is QR Code Monkey, because it's not going to expire and it's going to give you just so many options to choose from. So what we're going to do is type in alexandlaney.com. This is a domain that we purchased. This is just our names for our wedding, and we forwarded our Zola website to this. So when you go to it, it does say zola.com/wedding/Laney and Alex, but alexandlaney.com is way easier to say and to put on the invitation than zola.com/wedding/Laney and Alex. So we're going to use this as our QR code that it's going to send everyone to. And then we get to do a lot of editing here. So we'll set the colors, and look, you can use a color gradient, which is so much fun. And it's going to go so well with this suite. So I'm going to pick two colors from this suite that I think will work well. We're putting on white paper, so we want it to be kind of a dark color. Just so that the contrast is there. We don't want to use like this light yellow really, but I might want to use this blue. So I'll just copy the hex code over here, put that in, and then we also, let's see, want to use maybe a pink, but maybe like a darkish pink. I could even just make this a little darker. It's still going to play off of the same tones, but it might be a little darker than what's technically in that option. And then we'll put this one here. Beautiful. And you can change the background color if you want here. I typically recommend doing this on light to white paper with dark colors. You can do like white ink on a darker color, but if there are any printing issues, it's going to be harder to read. You can add an image here if you want to. I typically don't do that, and then you can customize the design. This is kind of your standard with all of the different squares, but I really like to use the round one because it feels a lot softer, or you can use a larger round one. I'm going to use this one. And then the iframe shape, so that's these big squares on these three sides here, you can change that so it does feel a lot softer. I typically will use a round one, or actually I really like this one as well, that's round and then comes to a point. And then the eyeball shape is what goes in the middle there. So there are a lot of options. I'm just going to stick with that same option, and we will see what that looks like. So I did get an error here. This is an important thing that I'm learning with you. You have to do like an HTTPS to make sure. And look, we've got our colors that we chose. We've got all of these shapes here. If you were to change them, you would be able to update them. So let's change this to this. Beautiful. And then on the inside, we also want a circle. Lovely. So this is a lot prettier than what we typically see for a QR code, and it's going to go so beautifully with this wedding invitation. So how do we get it actually onto your invitation? This is going to depend a little bit on how you are designing. I design in Illustrator. I'm very comfortable with graphic design, so I'm going to download the SVG, but if you're not, then go ahead and download the PNG option. And now we have this file that we can open in Illustrator. So I'll open this from our downloads. Beautiful. And just copy her over. She has a transparent background, and you can pretty much make it smaller however much you need to. I would recommend using like a scale function or making sure that when you scale it, it's not doing this because this can make it not work. So in Illustrator, for instance, you would press Shift to keep this ratio the same, and that's going to help you make sure it still works. You can put that on here, and it's going to go beautifully with all the other kind of gradient holographic-y elements that we have on this suite. And it's not going to look as glaring and obvious, but it's still going to be just as functional, and it's going to also continue to work and not expire. And then because we downloaded the SVG, if you are in graphic design, you can see that this is actually a gradient swatch. So you could change up the gradient, you could change it to a solid color, you can really do whatever you want. So when you download the SVG, it actually is vectorized, and you're able to use that swatch to change the colors if you need to. You also, of course, can edit the colors here in QR Code Monkey. Up in here, if you don't like the colors, you can change those. And then lastly, sometimes QR codes are a little bit weird on screen. So if you want to test to make sure it works before you print it, I would just print this out on an individual piece of paper and test to make sure it works on paper physically versus on screen, because it might not work as well on screen. Make sure it goes to the website that you want it to. For instance, if it's just for RSVPs, maybe link directly to the RSVP page of your website as opposed to the home page. So let me know what questions you have about adding QR codes to your RSVPs or any other wedding invitation design questions that you might have. Thanks for watching.